Okay, we're on Chapter 2, Lesson 4. Our essential question is, what strategies can I use to add or subtract? And our lesson is estimate sums and differences. And those words should instantly make you think sum is addition and difference is subtraction. And estimate should make you think rounding. So we're going to be doing rounding to estimate our sums and differences with this lesson. Okay, example 1. The Central School District needs 5,481 forks and 2,726 spoons for a school function. About how many forks and spoons will they need altogether? So it says estimate these numbers round to the hundredths place. So that's some important information we need. We need to round to the hundredths place. And we also need to know these two numbers. And the question is, about how many do they need altogether? And I want to emphasize the word about. Because that is the word that tells us that it's okay to round. Okay, so we're rounding to the hundredths place, and that is not the largest place value of these numbers. That is the next one. So the hundredths place is what I'm going to underline. And as I showed you in the other lesson, we're going to underline the place value we're rounding to, and we're going to circle the digit that comes to the right of that. Because when we focus on those two, we'll be able to round properly. The ones above the circle stay the same, so my thousands place is not going to change in either number. And I know that the places to the right of the circle are going to go to zeros. So I don't have to think about that yet. I don't have to do any math in my head. I can just get those parts done. Now, 48. If I imagine a number line, and I have 40 on one side and 50 on the other, 48 is going to be closer to 50 than it is to 40. So 48 is going to round to 50. Okay, and then I'm going to imagine a number line that has 32. So I would have 30 on one side and 40 on the other. And if you can visualize that, you'll realize that 32 is closer to 30 than it is to 40. So 32 rounds down to 30. So now we have a simpler equation to solve. Start with the ones, then move to the tens. 5 plus 3 is 8. And 5 plus 2 is 7. So 5,481 plus 2,326 is about 7,800, rounding to the place value that they told us in the problem. So if I were to go back and answer the question about how many forks and spoons will they need altogether, the Central School District needs about 7,800 forks and spoons. That would be the complete sentence answer to this equation. The Central School District needs about 7,800 forks and spoons altogether. Okay. And that's what you want to write to show your complete answer for this. It'll also help you check your work and make sure your answer makes sense. Okay, next problem. We're estimating 7,542, subtract 3,225. And again, these are the numbers we need. It tells us the operation we need, and we need to round to the hundredths place. So, to round to the hundredths place, underline the hundredths place, circle the one before it, underline the hundredths, circle that and the one before it. Everything to the left stays the same. 7 and 3. Everything to the right goes to 0. Just procedure, no math yet. Now I'm getting to the math. 54. Now I've got my number line 50 on one side and 60 on the other. And 54 is closer to 50 on that number line, so I'm going to round 54 down to 50. And 22 on the number line with 20 and 30. 22 is closer to 20. So this one also rounds down. Now instead of adding, the problem tells me to subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 2 is 3. Oh, I don't even have to regroup. 7 minus 3 is 4. So the difference is about 4,300. Okay. Last example. The table shows populations for 2 cities in Kentucky. So information I need are in the table, Ashland and Covington. About how many more people live in Covington than Ashland? So we've got some key information. How many more, which tells me my operation. And my question is, how many more people live in Covington than Ashland? And because it says about, we're going to round. Okay. It tells us to round to the thousands place. So I'm going to underline my thousands place. I'm going to circle that and the one before it. We've got a 5. Everything to the left stays the same. Everything to the right goes 0. So I've got 2 zeros in each. Now I've got 28 on my number line between 20 and 30. 28 was going to round up to 30. And 15, even though it's right in the middle of 10 and 20, we've decided that it's going to round up. The one in the middle will always round up. Now we're subtracting. Three minus 2, 4 minus 2. So Covington has about 21,000 more people. And that's rounding and estimating the sums and differences. Now, one thing I wanted to point out is the examples all have the same number of digits, but then you get to your practice and they don't. So pay attention. It does tell you to round to a place value that both numbers have, but this one only goes up to the hundreds place and this one goes up to the thousands place. So don't get tricked by that when you're doing your rounding to solve these problems. Both of these round and have different numbers of digits in the add-ins and the numbers you're adding. I think there was one other thing. Let me see if I can find what I was going to remind you of. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. These ones, I know people don't like to solve them across, and that's what they've given you room for. So it's not a problem at all for you to sort of divide this up, and I would do my equation here, and then when I got my answer, I would probably just write it on the line over here. So use this as your stacking, because I know people like to stack the equations more than you like to try and solve them across this way. So just make the space work, and you do need to show your work. Just make the space you've got fit the kind of problem that you want to solve. Also, don't forget that you're not solving this whole thing. You are rounding, and you're practicing your rounding skills to get this accurate. Don't forget, get to those problem-solving questions on the last page. I highlighted for you just the keywords that remind you that you are rounding in order to solve these.